Caitlin Clark walked into the Fever locker room as a rookie, and unknowingly as a revolution. Her presence changed everything. From the moment Steve Simon's directive leaked, declaring Clark the franchise centerpiece, the team's balance tilted. Stephanie White, a coach who built her system on discipline and shared responsibility, suddenly found her authority diluted by boardroom decisions. The secret meeting revealed that ownership was no longer content with traditional hierarchies. They wanted spectacle, sponsorships, and a brand molded around a single name. Tensions mounted as plays, rotations, and even media appearances began orbiting Clark, not the team. The message from above was clear. She wasn't just another player. She was the product. That shift has exposed the new fault lines in women's basketball. As Clark's control grows, so too does the unease within the Fever organization, where loyalty and leadership are being tested against financial ambition.
If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe.
Every trade rumor, every coaching adjustment, and every marketing campaign feels like a move in a much larger restructuring, one that blurs the lines between athlete and asset. What's unfolding isn't merely about one star's power. It's the unveiling of a new era where ownership sees players not as part of a team, but as empires to be built and controlled from the top down. Something's brewing behind closed doors, and it's already changing the future of women's basketball. At the heart of it all, a rookie, Caitlin Clark, and a billionaire, Steve Simon. The leaks are out. A secret meeting went down inside the headquarters of Pacers Sports and Entertainment, and it was anything but a standard team strategy session. We're talking a high-stakes power play that sent shockwaves through the Indiana Fever organization and possibly the entire WNBA. Clark, the headline-grabbing rookie, didn't just walk into the league with hype. She walked in with influence. And now, she has control. At least, that's what sources are pointing to. This meeting wasn't just some check-in with the coaching staff. It was a directive from the very top. Steve Simon, the billionaire behind the Fever and a massive sports empire, made a call. A clear one. The Fever's marketing, on-court style, and overall brand would no longer be built on a team-first system. They would be built around Clark. Period. And with that decision, everything changed. The fallout? Immediate. Behind the scenes, this decision has reportedly sparked a rift between ownership and the coaching staff. Stephanie White, the Fever's head coach, wasn't on board. Her approach was rooted in unity, developing chemistry, emphasizing balance, running a system. But when the order came to reorient the franchise around one player, that entire vision got sidelined. From that point forward, Clark wasn't just the face of the team. She was the team. The impact has been visible. Marketing efforts now revolve solely around her. Fans have noticed. Ads? All Clark. Promotions? Clark. Social media? Clark's highlights. Clark's interviews. Clark's jersey. It's as if the Indiana Fever got rebranded overnight into Clark & Company. And behind that transformation is a clear motivation. Business. Clark is being treated not just as a player, but as a commodity. A valuable one. And billionaires like Simon know exactly what to do with valuable assets. Protect them, maximize their return, and build everything else around them. So when team chemistry starts to feel off, when strategies shift mid-season, when veterans begin to disappear from the spotlight, none of it's a coincidence. This is a business model in motion, and Caitlin Clark is at the center of it. Sources say internal strategy meetings have taken a different tone. The priorities aren't just about game plans anymore. They're about optics, branding, and maximizing exposure. Even staffing decisions are changing. Talks of bringing in assistant coaches aligned with this Clark-centric vision have surfaced. Not based on coaching philosophy, but based on alignment with the franchise's new direction. Veterans on the roster? Some are reportedly on the chopping block. Not for underperforming, but because they don't fit the narrative. That narrative being, Caitlin Clark is the centerpiece. Everyone else is secondary. And while the fans are buying jerseys and tuning in for highlight reels, the internal power structure is shifting in real time. Stephanie White, once in full control of the Fever's play style, is now navigating a landscape where coaching authority is undercut by billionaire directives. She's been caught between doing what's best for basketball and complying with a system that sees branding as the real MVP. But this isn't just about one team. Because when one franchise flips the script and starts operating like a star-driven corporation, everyone else starts watching closely. Around the league, the response has been mixed. Some see it as a smart business move. Others are worried, because what this could signal is a broader, league-wide shift where traditional team-first models get replaced by structures built entirely around star power. Clark's situation has started to mirror that of global sports icons. Jordan in the NBA, Serena in tennis. Not just athletes, but economic forces. And the people backing Clark clearly believe she can do the same for the WNBA. She's not just the product. She's the platform. But with that kind of influence comes major changes. And not all of them are welcome. Merchandise sales and attendance both reportedly took a hit during stretches when Clark wasn't heavily featured. That alone shows where the financial weight lies. If Clark's visibility dips, the whole operation takes a hit. That pressure trickles down to the coaching staff, the roster, and even the league's broader broadcasting strategies. Everything now has to revolve around maintaining the Clark engine. And that shift isn't just being felt inside Indiana. Other teams, front offices, even league executives are paying attention. Because if this Clark-first model becomes profitable, if it drives engagement, boosts ratings, and delivers results, it sets a new standard. One where franchises don't build around systems or teamwork, but around whoever can sell the most jerseys and draw the most eyes. That might sound like progress, but it's not without consequences. It places massive pressure on one player, creates locker room tension, and opens the door to unchecked control from the top. In this case, Simon's influence over the Fever is becoming a test case. The traditional power triangle, owner, coach, player, has been restructured. Now it's owner and player in sync, with the coach playing catch-up. And that balance? It's breaking. The coaching staff isn't just dealing with X's and O's anymore. They're managing corporate expectations, PR considerations, brand alignment. And that's not the job they signed up for. Meanwhile, Clark's rise continues. Her image is being refined, her presence carefully curated, her role in media magnified. Every endorsement, every interview, every marketing push is coordinated to reinforce a very specific story. Clark isn't just a player. She's the future. And that future is starting to define how the WNBA operates. There are whispers now about official changes, structural overhauls, maybe even a full reorganization of team leadership. Veteran trades are being floated. New hires are being quietly vetted. The entire operation is slowly transforming into a machine that exists to serve one purpose: elevate and protect the Clark brand. And let's be honest, it's working. Game coverage prioritizes her storylines. Broadcasters frame entire segments around her. Social media interactions spike when she's at the center. Sponsors are lining up. This is how leagues evolve into star-centric businesses. But the cost? It's team identity, coaching integrity, league balance. If every franchise starts chasing the next Clark, what happens to cohesion? What happens to development? What happens to the culture of the league? Because once players become brands and owners start building teams like startups, the game itself starts to shift from sport to spectacle, from strategy to storyline. This isn't just a rookie sensation shaking things up. It's a financial movement, a corporate recalibration of what power looks like in women's sports. And if the Fever's approach pays off, expect more teams to follow. Fast. So now, the question isn't whether Caitlin Clark is reshaping the WNBA. It's how far the ripple effects will go. How many coaches will lose control? How many veterans will be traded? How many teams will give up their systems in favor of building a brand? And in the end, will women's basketball still look like the league it was? Or will it become something completely new? Drop your thoughts in the comments. This one's going to spark debate. Like the video if you're keeping up with the chaos behind the curtain, and make sure you're subscribed. Because if the rumors are true, the next chapter in this takeover could drop any day now. This isn't just about the Indiana Fever anymore. It's not even just about Caitlin Clark. It's about the entire system, the one that's quietly being rewritten while everyone's watching highlights and buying jerseys. What started as a single closed-door meeting, just a handful of executives, one billionaire, and a head coach trying to hold on to her authority, has turned into a full-on case study in how power is shifting across professional women's basketball. Not with an announcement, not with transparency, but with influence, control, and quiet realignment. Let's get real. This wasn't a mutual decision. This wasn't Caitlin's earned it or she's taking over naturally. This was top-down, a mandate. Steve Simon walked into that meeting not to ask questions, but to give answers. The team's direction was no longer up for debate. The Fever's strategy, brand, and locker room culture would now orbit around one name, Caitlin Clark. And it wasn't just about the game. It was about business. Because Steve Simon doesn't just own the Fever. He owns the empire that surrounds it. Pacers sports and entertainment. This is a man who understands markets, narratives, leverage. And he saw something in Clark that he couldn't afford to let slip through the cracks. A marketable identity with national, and eventually global, reach. From a business perspective, it's smart. Ruthless, but smart. From a basketball perspective, it's chaos. Stephanie White didn't just lose a battle in that room. She lost control of her team. She walked into that meeting as head coach. She walked out as a placeholder, expected to adjust her philosophy, her rotations, her vision for the game to fit the billionaire-approved storyline. And don't kid yourself. The players noticed. Veterans who've spent years grinding for wins, sacrificing for systems, and building chemistry suddenly found themselves in a supporting role for a narrative they didn't sign up for. One that sidelines development, undermines coaching, and turns team success into a footnote beneath one player's rising brand. These aren't hypotheticals. These are the direct effects of a power shift that no one voted on. Since the meeting, multiple signs have pointed to the internal restructuring of the Fever. Moves that align with a Clark-first, business-above-basketball approach. Players being shuffled, coaching staff being re-examined. And every brand activation, Clark. Every sponsorship announcement, Clark. Every piece of media content, social post, and in-game promo, you guessed it, Clark. And the impact is deeper than just locker room politics. It's hitting the league's culture at its core, because the WNBA was built differently. It was never about star chasing. It was about community, balance, progress, a unified front in a space that's historically underfunded, underappreciated, and fighting for legitimacy. But now, that foundation is cracking. Clark's rise, facilitated and fast-tracked by billionaire interests, isn't just a personal success story. It's a corporate pivot point. One where team identity is replaced with personal branding. Where equity is earned not through years in the league, but through commercial value. Where coaching authority is second to market demands. And now, a dangerous precedent is being set. Because if Steve Simon can reshape an entire franchise around one player, what's to stop other owners from doing the same? What's to stop the WNBA from becoming a league of brand vessels, where the actual game is just a backdrop for a content machine? This isn't speculation. This is already in motion. Viewers have seen the effects. When Clark's role shrinks, attendance drops, TV ratings dip, merch sales take a hit. When she's front and center, the numbers jump. That's not coincidence. That's data. And for execs, that data is a green light. One that says, forget the team, protect the product. The product being Caitlin Clark. And look, Clark didn't ask for this. She didn't hold a press conference demanding control. She didn't go behind anyone's back. This isn't about personal ego, but none of that changes the fact that she's being used as the face of a new business model, one that may permanently change the way women's sports operate. And let's not pretend the league office is unaware. League executives are watching all of this unfold in real time, and they're not stopping it. Because they're under pressure too, from sponsors, media partners, networks who are finally paying attention. And they're paying attention because of Clark. So the league, whether willingly or reluctantly, is bending with the shift. Broadcasts now feature Clark-centric commentary, even during games that barely involve her. Graphics show her stats first. Highlight packages are curated to emphasize her presence, win or lose. Her narrative has become the default lens through which the WNBA is seen. It's a marketing dream, but a competitive nightmare. Because when one player gets this much attention, when one storyline becomes the central plot of an entire league, what happens to the rest of the cast? They become supporting roles, no matter how long they've been grinding, no matter how good they are. And the result? Resentment, frustration, quiet exits, leaked tensions, a fracture in the very culture that kept this league unified through years of uphill battles. And that fracture started, unmistakably, with one meeting, one decision, one shift in the hierarchy that stripped the head coach of her power, elevated a rookie to franchise centerpiece, and turned a basketball team into a branding platform. It's not speculation. It's happening. Stephanie White, by all accounts, is doing her best to hold things together. But her position is being weakened day by day. And if the rumors are true, she may not be part of the long-term plan. Because in a system where billionaires are calling the shots and stars are treated like assets, coaches who don't fall in line, they get replaced. And the players who speak up, moved. This isn't basketball anymore. It's corporate chess. And Clark is the queen piece. Every sponsorship now flows through her. Every campaign is tailored to her. Even the Fever's public identity is no longer a rebuilding franchise. It's Caitlin Clark's team. And the scary part? That narrative sells. But selling a story isn't the same as building a sustainable league. Because when the next star rises, when the next rookie enters the league with hype and a big-name backing, what's stopping this from happening again? Or everywhere? At that point, you don't have a league. You have a collection of brands playing for relevance. You don't have coaches, you have managers of image. And you don't have a team-first league culture, you have a content pipeline. That's the future being written right now. Not by players, not by fans, but by billionaires, boardrooms, and business interests who finally see dollar signs in women's sports and are ready to reshape everything to protect those profits. So what happens next? Do more coaches lose power? Do more teams bow to market demands? Does the WNBA become a star-first product with league balance as a secondary concern? All of those outcomes are now on the table. Because what was once unthinkable, a rookie being handed the reins to an entire franchise, backed by executive decisions and billionaire muscle, has already happened. And not quietly, not with buy-in from all sides, but with friction, fallout, and a very clear message. This league is changing, fast. So here we are, at a crossroads, one where the game of basketball is being pulled in two directions, by those who want to preserve its foundation, and those who see it as the next business frontier. And Caitlin Clark? She's the lightning rod at the center of it all, not by choice, but by design. This isn't the end of the story, it's just the tipping point. What's happening with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever isn't just a scandal. It's a template. It's the kind of high-stakes business move that quietly opens the floodgates for more decisions made behind closed doors, more billionaire-engineered storylines, and more leagues treating their teams like brands, not basketball franchises. And while the media eats it up, while TV networks plaster Clark's face across every highlight package, and sponsors scramble to attach themselves to her name, what's being lost is the soul of the league. The balance, the grit, the respect for process. What happens to the players who don't fit into this new Clark-centric narrative? The ones who've led their teams, put in a decade of work, and never got a fraction of the spotlight? They're now being treated like extras. Replaceable. Forgotten. And no one's really saying it out loud, but the tension is building. Players across the league see what's happening. They feel the shift. Not just in who's getting attention, but in how decisions are being made. It's not about strategy anymore. It's not about who's earned what. It's about who moves the needle. And right now, that needle only moves when Caitlin Clark is in the frame. Meanwhile, head coaches like Stephanie White are being boxed in. Imagine trying to lead a team when your playbook has to pass through marketing first. When your star player is untouchable because she's been elevated above the system you're trying to run. When everything you say or do is measured against how it affects someone else's brand. That's the trap White is in. Her authority has been undercut, not because she's underperforming, but because the system around her no longer respects the role of the coach. It respects the bottom line. And we know where this goes. More advisors added to the bench. More coaching hires selected not for their philosophy, but for how well they can maintain the Clark-first identity. Veterans traded. Rookies benched. Lineups adjusted to protect the image, not the scoreboard. It's hard to ignore the irony. For years, the WNBA has fought for respect in the sports world, for coverage, investment, visibility. And now, when one player finally breaks through that wall and becomes a household name, the reaction isn't to celebrate the league. It's to isolate the individual and reshape everything around her. And the rest of the players? The ones who built this league with little recognition and even less pay? They're watching that foundation get chipped away in real time. It's why this moment matters more than just one player or one team. Because it sends a message to every current and future player. If you're not the brand, you're not the priority. And if the billionaires can shape the narrative once, they can do it again. They will do it again. This isn't just a marketing strategy. It's a power strategy. Steve Simon didn't just make a call about how to promote a player. He made a call about who runs the team. And now, that same playbook could be replicated by any owner who sees their franchise less as a basketball team and more as a content engine. And it's not just fans who should care. It's every player, coach, and executive who still believes in the idea of basketball as a team sport. Because once the game becomes a brand-first machine, the culture that made this league what it is starts to disappear. And maybe it already has. So where does this end? Does Caitlin Clark become the face of a new era? A symbol of possibility? Or does her rise mark the moment the league stopped being about basketball and started being about business? Does Stephanie White make it through this storm? Or does she become another casualty of a system that no longer values leadership, that questions the status quo? Will other owners follow suit, turning their teams into personality-driven franchises, each one built around whichever player has the most followers, the flashiest endorsements, the most media traction? It's all on the table now, and the WNBA is standing at a crossroads. Preserve the identity it's fought so hard to build, or chase a future defined by money, optics, and influence. So what do you think? Is this the evolution the league needed, or the start of something it won't be able to control? Drop your thoughts below. Like this video if you're tracking every twist in this unfolding drama, and subscribe to stay ahead of the story, because if the last few weeks are any indication, this storm is nowhere near over. And trust, there's more to come.